Hi guys, and welcome to another Lockdown Live. I would like to say these are getting quite popular, but I mean, I'm not sure if they are, but I'm certainly really enjoying them. So today I've got someone quite special. She is part of my family, which is good. So she has to kind of put up with the likes of me. But where she's a little bit different is she has performed in theatre across London. She's done some really good shows, and I think I've pretty much been to all of them. And, you know, I think she's great. And I just wanted to kind of talk to her about how it was acting young and kind of the pressures. So I'm going to introduce to you Riya. Riya, hi.
Hi.
So how are you? And how's the lockdown been for you?
It's been good actually. I think technology's been really good because if we didn't have technology, I think everyone would be so bored right now. But I've been keeping up with like online training, online classes, doing things like this and
Mm.
FaceTiming my friends and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So just for everyone else, I mean, how old are you, Riya? And
I'm
what year are you in?
I'm 14 and I'm in year 9.
Cool. And when did you start sort of doing any sort of acting or any sort of drama and stuff like that?
I think I was about 4 years old. Um
Okay.
yeah, and I was very shy and I wasn't confident at all. So my mum just put me in Stagecoach to boost my confidence. And then from there, I just really loved theatre and I just knew that that's what I wanted to do.
Okay, cool. So we'll come on to the theatre stuff in a second. I'm kind of interested to know how schooling works because I don't think I've had anyone so far that is in school or is a teacher yet, and I do want to do this with a teacher actually. But it must be really weird. And also talk to me about that last day when you were in school because I can imagine leaving work was emotional for me. Like you know, and I will see them again soon. But leaving school, it just must have been really different.
It was really sad. And actually, you could see some of the teachers were even trying not to cry because it was really unexpected. And we all were really confused and we were all like hugging each other and just because we don't know when we're going to see
Of
each other
course.
again. So it was
Yeah.
sad. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about people that were in their last year, like if they were in, you know, year 11 leaving school or sixth form leaving school or year six in primary school, like, you know, to have your final year. I remember my final day, it was all about signing shirts and it was all fun, like, you know, and if you lose that, it's really sad. But I mean, obviously, at least you know you'll certainly be back with your kind of classmates at some point. We just don't know when.
Yeah.
But so how have you been kind of doing school and making sure you don't fall behind?
Well, we have Zoom as well, and the teachers basically they call us on there, and then we all talk, and they put like PowerPoints up on Teams as well, and then
Okay.
we just have to like basically go through them, and we still have to wake up early, and we have to register, so that's a bit annoying that we have to do that,
Yeah,
but it's
yeah,
basically a normal school day, but on a laptop instead.
yeah.
Yeah.
You get to wake up a little bit later though, right? Because you don't have to
Yeah.
make
Well,
the.
I do anyway. School starts at 8:20. We register at 8:20, but I
Okay.
think it's about 8:40 now where we can just say we're here. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, don't worry. I'm the same with work. I mean, I used to wake up at about 5:30, 5:45 to go to work, and I don't anymore.
Yeah,
I wake
it's
up a
great.
bit. I wake up a bit
Yeah,
later,
that's the
about half
advantage.
seven. Yeah, exactly. So, but do you think it's a lot harder to kind of keep up with school, or actually are you finding it's not too bad?
It is a bit hard because you feel like you have distractions around you. So I think you could feel a bit less motivated, but then at the same time, I think it is good because you can just kind of teach yourself some bits. And I think kind of it's good for you because you can like learn things yourself at the same time.
Mm, cool. Yeah. Well, it's certainly interesting, and it's probably something new for the teachers as well. I can imagine it's quite difficult for them
Yeah,
adapting to
it
this, and
was. Yeah.
and I suppose if the teachers have children themselves at home, it's even harder to control a class and to have your own children. So bless them. I'm sure they're doing their best, and actually, you know, they deserve quite a lot of credit, I guess. So what's it been like for you at home? You've obviously got your mum and dad, and you've got your little brother who, you know, is a character. What's it been like at home for you?
Actually, I think it was really funny because sometimes we're all like, my mum's on a call with her work, my dad's on a call with his work, my brother's trying to like ask my mum how to do this question, and it's really chaotic. It's funny though because like we're all seeing like how we all work, so it's actually really interesting to see that and spend
Mm.
time with my family actually.
I was going to say that is it quite nice to be home with them, because you guys, you know, like me as well, but we have really busy lives. I mean, you're often, you know, at drama school acting. When you've got shows, you're even more busy. Your brother does a lot of football, swimming. Your dad obviously, you know, works in the city and things like that. So he's often out the whole day, kind of working hard. So is it quite? And your mum as well is obviously working full time. So is it quite nice to have everyone around a bit?
It is actually. It made me feel like actually I don't talk to them as much as I should, and like we're all kind of talking now, and it actually in that respect it is really nice.
Do you have like a routine as well now? Do you feel like you've got a nice routine going?
Yeah, at first I was actually really not in a routine, and I was actually struggling. I was like, I need to get myself into a routine, but now that I have, I feel a bit better with it.
Yeah, that's good. So thinking about kind of your passion, which is obviously drama, and you know, we've always, you know, talked a lot about it, and with you with drama and me doing sort of football stuff, and we both kind of found our passion and stuff. But I mean, what was it about sort of performing at a young age? You said sort of 4 years old, you were kind of, you know, stagecoach and stuff like that. You probably don't remember exactly at 4 years old, but from your early memories, what was it about like acting and performing and singing and drama that you just liked?
I just felt like that when I was on a stage, I really enjoyed it, and that I really enjoyed like transforming into different characters, and I think I loved being able to express myself in so many different ways. And I just feel like when you're with the cast on stage, it just feels like a family, and that's what I love about theatre.
So what was your first big break? What would you
Um,
say?
well, I at the age of 10, I had my first professional job, which was Ragtime, and that show for me was really, really special
Oh,
because
for me too.
yeah, the storyline was like it was really timely with everything that's happening in the world, and it was so emotional, and that's why I will always remember that show.
I remember coming to watch the show on the day the US president election was held, when Donald Trump became US president. And obviously we're not doing anything political here, but obviously that was a big day in history. And I'm sure I came to your show. So I think Ragtime, I came to the first one, the last one, and a couple in the middle as well.
Yes,
It was
you
just,
did. Yeah,
it was in Charing Cross, and it was just absolutely amazing, wasn't it?
it was an amazing show to be part of. Yeah.
I mean, you had done obviously a few other kind of, you know, shows and stuff before that. You had done kind of the Secret Garden, and you
Yeah,
had done
Annie.
things like that, which were, yeah, we obviously were smaller. But what was it about Ragtime? What did you feel that step up? So I'm thinking, if I think about it in football terms, you know, you're playing in a park and then you're playing professionally. It's a step up, and that's probably similar for you. How was that? How was that step up?
It was a step up because it was like the show itself, like for that to be my first job. I was honored because I was on stage with such amazing people, and I was
Mm,
learning from all these creatives, and I feel really honored to be able to do that at the age of 10, and you know, to
yeah.
yeah.
It was a great cast as well, wasn't it? It was just a really nice group of people. I remember talking to one or two of them outside when we were waiting for you and stuff like that, and they were just real humble sort of human beings, which is really nice. Um, how did you sort of deal with like learning lines and just remembering stuff? I know there's lots of rehearsals and stuff, but day one, when you're starting to, did it ever feel like, wow, how am I going to learn this? Like,
It was actually for Ragtime. I didn't actually have that many lines, but I was on stage
yeah.
a lot. But for like Adrian Mole, which
Mm.
I had like so many lines that I had to learn, and for me, I basically do a voice recording where I read the other characters' lines, and
Okay.
then from there I play the recording, and then I say the other characters' lines, and then I
Okay.
speak. So yeah.
Do you kind of, when you do the voice recording, do you leave a gap then when you're going to say your line, or do you just pause it every time?
I leave a bit of a gap.
Yeah,
Sometimes it doesn't
not
work,
enough.
but
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
good because I can learn my cues, and then also my lines at the same time.
Mm. So you mentioned Adrian Mole, and obviously that was your most recent one, certainly the biggest recent one. I know you've done a few bits since as well. But what was that like? Because that was Covent Garden. That was that was big. I mean, Charing Cross was big for me, but Covent Garden. I mean, what was? I mean, do you remember when you got the call? And even for Ragtime, I guess it's the same thing. But your feelings on the day you got the call saying you've got the part. I mean, how was that?
Oh my gosh, basically my mum wasn't picking up her phone because we were on holiday and we had to change it so many times because of the audition.
Yeah.
And when I found out, I was like shocked. It wouldn't sink in because it was like I've always wanted to be in the West End and it just felt really unreal to me. So I was like, oh my God. Yeah.
How many shows did you do in the end for Adrian Mole and then even Ragtime? How many were there?
I think for Adrian Mole we had to do 4 shows a week. And then we swapped because there were 3
other teams.
Yeah. And then for Ragtime, I can't actually remember because it was such a long time ago. I think it was about the same, yeah.
Yeah, it must have been quite a few. I mean, how long were they in theatre for? Do you remember, roughly? Like, was it a couple of months, 3-4 months?
Yeah, for Adrian Mole, it was just through the whole of summer. It was, and then and then Ragtime, I think it must have been, I think, through summer to October or something like that.
Yeah, it was something like that, wasn't it? And what's pressure to you? Like, is pressure, because there's different types of pressure, right? So is pressure learning the lines and knowing you got to learn them by a certain time? Is it on stage on your first day? Is it, the last show, first show? I mean, what's pressure to you?
I think pressure is that feeling before you're going on stage thinking, what if I get this wrong? Or what if I miss my line? What if I miss my cue? But I think you need to get those nerves and just put them into your performance, because at the end of the day, you're transforming into another character. So you can't bring your real life feelings into that. And I cope with that. Sometimes I listen to music before, or I just shake out my nerves, or I talk to the other cast members to try and,
just relax a little bit and
yeah.
Have you ever made a mistake on stage? And if you have, because I think everyone would have, I think I've done live interviews where I've just said something accidentally wrong, or maybe even said a rude word by accident. I think even on one of these lives, I accidentally used a bad word. So it happens, mistakes are part of life. It's how we learn from them. But I mean, do you remember a mistake you've made, and how did you sort of recover from it in the immediate, in terms of, you've done something wrong? How did you then recover?
Well, because it's in such a quick moment. So I think there's been a couple of times where I forgot some of my lyrics to a song and the music was playing, but I just have to think, okay, I've done that. I do think about it after the show, but I'm still doing the show, so I have to just move on to the next scene. Otherwise, it will just throw off my performance.
It's just like in anything, right? You got to put it out of your mind quickly.
Yeah.
And in your in your cast and your theatre, do people pick up on those mistakes? And does your cast, would a fellow colleague of yours tell you at the halftime interval break or intermission that, do you know that you made that mistake? Or is it kind of like actually no one does, because you as an actress know that you've made the mistake and you don't need someone to tell you?
Well, sometimes the creatives, they'll watch the show and then they'll probably feed back. Or if they knew it was a big mistake, they might come in the interval and just say, don't worry about it, because it will be okay. But yeah, usually they do feedback after the shows.
Okay, that's fair. And I think you sort of undersold your role at Adrian Mole a little bit, because you were the lead kind of female, weren't you? I mean, it wasn't like when you said in Ragtime you didn't have as many lines as you had in Adrian Mole. Well, I think in Adrian Mole you were pretty much there the whole time. You were the lead. How was doing that show, as it went on and you were doing it every not every night because there was teams, but you're doing it quite often? How did that feel? How did you deal with, one, school to balance it out, two, the kind of pressure of performing every night, and sort of three, I guess, balancing family time and stuff like that as well, because you're at school, you're rehearsing, you're performing, how did you deal with all that?
It was really hard to balance, but luckily my school were really supportive.
Mm.
And, I had to do work during like sometime in rehearsal when we had free time in rehearsal. And then sometimes I had to bring my script into school, like to learn some lines and stuff. But I think my school were really supportive and they really helped me balance that out. And I don't think it will ever be perfectly balanced because, it's hard to do
Mm.
that.
Of course.
Yeah.
And do you sort of, thinking about even earlier in your life and stuff, is there any, like, do you feel there's any regrets or any opportunities you missed that you think, oh, you know what, if I could go back, I wish I'd done that? Or are you actually are you really happy with kind of what you've done to date?
I am happy with what I've done to date, but sometimes I guess there are those auditions where you get like to the final round out of 2 people and you're like, oh, I was so close. But I guess you can't let that, be it playing in your mind all the time because, yeah, you'll miss the other opportunities.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I mean, that obviously happens to everyone. There'll be people who are maybe watching this who have been for a job interview, they've got to the final 2 and they haven't got the job, and that's life. How have you dealt with that when actually you've got to the kind of final stages and unfortunately for whatever reason it hasn't happened to you? Do you get disappointed? Do you need a day or two just to kind of, for everyone to leave you alone and not ask you about it so you can get yourself straight and then you're ready to talk about it? Or do you just kind of forget about it straight away and move on?
I think if I really wanted to get it and I was that close and I didn't, I will feel a bit disappointed or disheartened. But then I know that I have to move on to the next audition because in theatre there'll always be a lot more like rejects than getting into stuff. But I guess that's the way it is. You just have to cope with it.
Yeah. And what motivates you? What gets you out of bed every day thinking I want to rehearse or I want to, because I can imagine there's some long days in that, but what motivates you?
I think watching other actors and actresses, like if it's in musicals or even on Netflix, sometimes I just watch them. I'm like, this is amazing. Like, that is insane. Like, that's what I want to do. And looking at those actors and, like Emma Watson, for example, she's such an inspiration to me. And I just love her as an actress and also as a person. And I think what she does is amazing. And that inspires me.
Is it important to have those sort of role models just because, is it important to have them?
I think so, because even if it's like a family member or anyone just to look up to, yeah.
No, I'm kidding. Don't look up to me. But yeah, no, I sort of totally agree. And I guess what's kind of the dream for you? What if if you're still very young? Let's not forget that. So you have got years and years and years ahead of you. Hopefully performing on stages. But what's the dream like for you? Very open-ended question.
That's a good question. I think I really love performing on stage and I'd like to continue that and develop my training. And I'd like to maybe go to drama school, but also I would really like to get into some screen or on TV because that's something I haven't done. And I just think it would be an amazing experience to do that.
Yeah. And would you ever do anything abroad? Is that a dream of yours? Or is it kind of maybe, but it's not a dream? It's not like something you think about every day.
Actually, I'd love to. I'd really love to travel the world and perform in different places, not just the UK, Broadway in America and New York. I'd love to do that. Yeah.
And I guess at the moment we're obviously going through kind of challenging times, and that is why this is called a lockdown live, because unfortunately we are in lockdown.
Yeah.
But I mean that must be quite hard for you, because this would be a time where you would be looking around. Well, you might be in a show or certainly looking around for kind of maybe even Christmassy now. Shows would have started to do the auditions now, obviously, because then the rehearsals would start in the summer, I presume. So does it feel weird that there's not, because obviously there's going to be less opportunities because there aren't as many shows? Does that feel really like frustrating for you, not having those kind of shows to go for?
Yeah, it does actually, but I just have to remember that this isn't going to be forever. And the more people that stay at home, hopefully the quicker this will all be over, because health is the most important thing. But when it's all over, I can't wait to get back into everything. Yeah.
Are you kind of like, are you still keeping skills going? Like, if I think about kind of myself, I I'm using some of the downtime to upskill myself in stuff like, I'm obviously working social media, but I'm trying to do a bit more in photography. I'm trying to learn a little bit about website coding and stuff, which may or may not help my job. I don't know, but I'm using this time to kind of learn new things. Are you trying to do something similar, or is there anything you're doing at the moment that's kind of cool?
Yeah, well, I've been just keeping up with my training, so I'm still having like online singing, acting, dancing lessons. But I've also been doing new skills. Like I've been trying to like work out on the treadmill, and I've been cycling actually, and I've been enjoying that. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. And is there anything cool you're watching on Netflix or anything like that?
Well, actually, I'm watching quite a few things. So
okay.
I just finished watching the series called On My Block, and that's really, really good. I loved it. It has a mixture of all different emotions. Yeah. And there's a new series called Never Have I Ever, I think.
Okay.
And I just watched the first episode recently, and I think I'm going to keep watching that. It's very good.
Yeah. And I'm going to let you go in a second. But when you are in that sort of rehearsing, performing, or finished rehearsing, but you're performing, you've got school and stuff, do you actually get time to zone out there? Like, do you get time to do much, or actually is it quite intense, but you always think 3-4 months, intense, I'll enjoy life later?
Actually, that's a really good question, because now that I'm in lockdown, I am realizing that actually I don't get much time to have downtime. And obviously that's really important, but I do try and squeeze it in, like even if it's like 30 minutes just to relax. That's something that I think I should be doing. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm going to end with some quick fire questions, right? So you can just kind of give me quick answers, and I haven't really planned for this, so this is going to be a little bit thingy. But your feeling when you first performed on stage?
Excited.
The feeling when your mum and dad first saw you perform on stage?
Nervous.
The feeling that you had on the opening night of Ragtime?
Probably confident, I think. No, not confident. Not confident. I think I was excited but nervous.
Okay, but I think confidence good, and I did a lockdown live with Jamie Raven, who was a magician that did our charity thing, and he was telling me, because it was on the day I remembered that he performed about 9 o'clock, if you remember that evening.
Yes,
right?
I do.
And you guys came around 5:30, 6 for the thing. He had arrived at about 3, 3:30, really early. And I told him, you can arrive at whenever you want. We'll do a little sound check around 5. But you arrived at 3:30. And I always thought that early, but do you remember it was raining that day and stuff? So I thought maybe it was just because of that and stuff. It was only actually when I did the lockdown, I found out that the reason why he did that is he always says to himself, in order for him to deal with the nerves, he needs to be bored of the venue. So he gets to the venue really early. And by the time he's performing, he's so bored of the venue that he just wants to perform. And then he's excited to perform. He's not nervous, because he's like, I don't want to sit in that room. I want to perform, do what I'm good at. So I thought that was a really interesting thing. Sometimes it's not always possible, obviously. But I thought that was just a really interesting kind of tactic, I guess. Okay, last 2 questions. Let me think. When the last night of Adrian Mole, so that really emotional last night when you've just done 4 months worth and that's it.
Sad. I wasn't ready to move on.
Yeah, and how did you move on? Because I mean, the next morning, I mean, it must be like when you wake up the next morning, it must be like you just think, wow, this is over. What should I do now with my time?
Yeah, Adrian Mole took up actually so much of my life at that time, so it was hard to move on. I'd say it must have taken about like a month for me to properly just forget about it, but obviously the memories will always be there because it was such an amazing opportunity.
Yeah. And were you singing the songs in your head for like weeks?
Yes, I was. Yeah. I was listening to the music. I had the lines, all the songs. Yeah, everything.
Yeah, because how many times? 6 or 7 times maybe I watched it, and I was singing the songs. I think I texted you a couple of times with a few of the things, because we were at home. Yeah, we were just singing. We were just like, and we were saying like lines from it. I mean, you know, for anyone that saw it, and there might be someone that saw it. I mean, that your character was amazing, Mr. Lucas. That character was just absolute epic, and we were saying his lines for weeks and weeks, and we still do sometimes. We still do. But okay, last question. If you had to give a tip to anyone young, so younger than you, so you think back for what, you're 14, 10, 8 years when you were about 6, 7 maybe, and think someone who wants to do a bit of drama and stuff, what would you suggest? How should they get into it, and what's your tip?
Well, I'd say just start like putting yourself out there and go for like open auditions for like theatre schools near you, and always be yourself, because a lot of people sometimes lose themselves in the process, but the most important thing is you, and to always be yourself and remain humble. Yeah.
Okay. And then one final question, sorry, on the back of that, is what message would you have for someone who that person who you're describing, but their parents? Because I know that your mum has been, and dad, but your mum especially has been really, really amazing, taking you to rehearsals, doing this. And I mean, before you were born, you know, I used to come and stay at your mum's when we were younger, and we would watch football, and you know, she was amazing with me as well. But why is it so important that you have someone like that who can support you? Because I'm thinking of people going into it younger who wanna act or wanna perform. They need that level of support from their parents. But why is it important?
Because it's such a big commitment, and you can't get through it yourself. You'll need somebody. Like my mum and dad have been so supportive, because there've been happy times, and there've also been sad times where I've needed their support, and I don't think I would have been able to do it without them.
Great. Riya, thank you very much for joining me. Thank you for your time and answers, and hopefully you've helped people who are younger think, actually, I'm going to give it a go. So,
yeah, do it.
Thank you. Yeah. So stay safe, look after your brother, and keep being you.
Yeah. Thank you, you too.